that the personality as well as life skills are essential for doing well in society or in life. And for competencies, both life skills and personality are important. We know that the life skills are skills that are necessary for full participation in everyday life. They are the adaptive skills and positive behaviors that enables humans to deal effectively with demands and the challenges of the life problems. So whatever competencies or whatever personalities we develop, they should also be helpful to actually practice the life skills we have achieved. And actually, there are several life skills which we'll be dealing today. But as we know, as I was saying, that the life skills are the psychosocial abilities, and they actually help the individuals to actually translate into practice whatever knowledge, skills, and abilities they have gained in their life to actual situations. That is, here we see the application of their knowledge, skills, and abilities to everyday practical problems. Now, this is based on a logical decision-making process on knowing what to do and how to do in a particular situation. And this actually, what we call, it results in being competent enough in life. Now, the World Health Organization has defined life skills as the abilities of the positive behavior that enable individuals to deal effectively with day-to-day problems and with demands and challenges in everyday life. Now, that means that the individual has to be adaptive enough. Adaptivity means here being flexible in one's approaches and not being rigid. And also, the positive behavior means that the individual is able to cope up with whatever type of stress that a situation throws in, and he's also able to deal with particular situations and challenges in a positive manner, and he tries to look at solutions in a rational manner, and he achieves some sort of solution which actually helps him to be successful in his life and also contribute something to society. Here, we can say that the life skills are a behavioral aspect which actually show how to deal in a situation, and it shows that if a person has good life skills, it means his knowledge, skills, and abilities, he's able to apply them in a proper manner, or he's able to get along or face the challenges in his life and able to come out of them successfully. Now, if we were to consider the components of life skills, actually there are three types of life skills. One is cognitive life skills, the other is psychosocial life skills, or we can call them as the interpersonal skills, and also we have got the emotional skills, or how actually you try to control your emotions and interact with others. So we have got three types of skills. One is cognitive, the second is psychosocial skills or interpersonal skills, and the last is the emotive skills or the emotional skills. Now, when we consider the cognitive thinking skills, they are mostly based on decision-making, problem-solving, and information gathering skills. Whenever we are facing a problem, we should be skilled enough to evaluate the situation and have an understanding of what sort of decisions would lead to good results, and try to cope up with such a situation and how to deal with actions of others. This means we should be able to arrive at solutions, and this would mean gathering proper information. Also, this would mean analyzing others' feelings, others' interactions, and how to overcome a particular situation. Now, the social interpersonal skills are also important in the sense here, both verbal and non-verbal skills actually make you interact with others. Things like skills like listening or expressing feelings or giving proper feedbacks to other persons, all these actually help the individuals to develop proper interpersonal skills. For example, empathy, that is trying to think what the other person thinks or feels, is a skill by itself. Similarly, the ability to conduct work in teams, teamwork, and the ability to cooperate with each other, either as a leader or as well as a fellow human being or as a follower, would also help you to express respect for the other's feelings and come out with some plausible solutions for any situation. So we can say development of the social interpersonal skills are skills at two levels. One is the ability to express or communicate properly, and also having the emotional aspects, understanding the emotions of others, that is having empathy, and also being able to contribute something in groups, and also ability to cooperate with each other. This is somewhat where we try to deal with other persons in a closed manner. Then the emotional skills are the skills which refer to the actual, your internal locus of control. Here you are aware of yourself and other selves, and you are able to cope up with stress or emotions, and you know you can make a difference. First of all, one should be aware of their own self. So being aware of their own self or self-evaluative skills, and also having awareness of self and the ability to set goals so that we are able to achieve them, they're all the part of what we call the emotional skills. So emotional skills also means basically having proper time skills, time management skills, and also what we call trying to cope up with all your emotions. So the time management skills, or as well as goal setting skills, as well as having empathy for others, and also trying to behave in a proper manner, in a proper relationship, having proper relationships, and stress management, all these are essential for emotional skills. Now we know that all these life skills are important because they help us to effectively strategize or effectively deal with certain situations. Especially when a child actually tries to grow from early childhood to middle childhood, he faces certain problems in his life and also certain stress. And this also will lead to maladjustment of the individual. So we should try to develop the skills right from the adolescent stage. Now, they should know the effective strategies to deal with problems, and also plan their time effectively, and also understand how problem solving and decision making is important in every facet of life, so that they are able to lead their lives as successful human beings. This means that the student should make a transition from being a child for being a very healthy adult. And this would take certain guidance from the parents. So, and also teachers. The National Curriculum Framework in 2005 actually has said that all our education has become an isolated activity. It is not trying to take into consideration the problems or the stresses of the children who are actually having difficulty in adjusting to changing times. So whatever knowledge they are learning in school is becoming really bookish and they're having no influence over their lives. So the National Curriculum Framework said that is certain life skills have to be developed in the schools so that the children are able to deal their lives very happily. When we compare to the Western sort of educational system with the Indian educational system, we find that the Indian educational system has its own special type of characteristics. For example, we know that we have become westernized, or we are trying to become globalized. With rapid industrialization, we no longer can remain isolated. And this means trying to come across with new cultures and new social values. Also, India has become the target for the international market. This would mean more interaction with other countries and understanding the cultural values and ethos of other cultures and communities. Now, we know that the huge population we have, India stands now number one in population across the whole world, and economy is also changing. It is dynamic, and these are not keeping in pace with the educational system. The educational system again has to get transformed and has to take into account these changes. Also, we know that there has been poor infrastructure across the years. We don't have much given for either social welfare, much amount either budget has been given for either law and order. That would mean more discipline from civic sense or from the citizens themselves, So there are no external ways of trying to discipline the society, nor external ways of dealing with economic problems, nor do we have the proper infrastructure. These would create their own problems. So we think that the education or life skills should enable the individuals to face these problems which are being caused externally. Also, we know that the families are in transition. We know when there is stability in families, psychologically, the individuals are also more socially stable. But because of the shift from joint family system to nuclear family system, there have been changes in the family life structure, and this would also mean changes in the individuals. So also there is much transition in the how people are getting transported, their lives, and how people are getting acclimatized to the modern ways, and how people are making use of their leisure time. All these changes have had an impact on the life skills. Also, when we consider the academic and career stress, we know that the children spend most of their lives in the classrooms, and here they are being not taught properly with regard to the life skills which may they need, which may they have to actually keep in practice in later lives, and this is making them mismatched to exactly how to carry on out their lives, and this is making somewhat either become psychopathological or have some stress or have some unsatisfying lives, or sometimes also resulting in suicides or some other problems. So we know that the parents are also no longer the role model, because they cannot be at home, try to understand and assess and spend quality time with their children. They have their own issues. Everybody is trying to make out a living. And in this sense, there is no proper familial structure, in the sense that the parents are able to interact and also monitor their children's doings. So this also has had a bearing, and the schools are under increasing pressure to see that the life skills are given to the children. So also we know that there are certain gender issues, especially concerned with the women child, where there is suppression and exploitation at all levels, and we are not an equal society in the sense that both the genders are not given the equal sort of preference, or equity is not shown, and in such sense there are also problems associated with such sort of social constructs. That is, when gender is not given equal opportunities or not given the same respect, it so happens it will lead to certain problems of its own, and this also has had a bearing on society as well as on the children's education, and this also should be addressed from the point of life skills. Now, when we consider the problems with the youth, they seem to be many. The teenagers are now completely different. We see that there is more violence in society, more domestic, labor, sexual, communal, religious, political sort of violence, and also there is much abuse. The youngsters try to consume either drugs or alcohol because of the influences, and also due to sexual experimentation or experiences they are undergoing at a very early ages. We see that there are either teenage marriages or high risk behaviors, and which are again resulting in social problems like HIV and AIDS, both at personal level and at social level. We see these problems have an effect on society. Also, the changes in the modern society are bringing changes in outlook of individuals. So where the social recognition was important once, the social consideration and respect was important. Now money is taking the predominance, power is taking the predominance. There are pressures to perform well in society. The children are put to much stress because they have to do well in life. And also individuals have become very loquacious in the sense that they are no longer interested in doing something to society, but they have become more self-centered. They want pleasure seeking, and they want immediate results without putting any hard work, and the persons have become more important than the society. All these changes in people's outlooks have also had a bearing, and when people are somewhat sensitive, they're looking for societal causes, societal improvement, or when we consider from the societal point of view, the society has borne the brunt, and again, because the society is bearing the brunt of all these the problems, it also happens the individuals are again suffering, because it is the individual consequences that have an effect on society, and society also can have another equitable sort of relations on individuals. So because the society is suffering, or because of the individuals facing problems, again, the society has to address these problems. And therefore, the Knowledge Commission felt that most of these problems could be addressed if life skills of the individuals are addressed. Now, the national curriculum framework emphasized that the psychological competencies can be acquired when people find solutions to problems, when they can deal with different life situations and challenges, they perform well in different ways of life, and they become holistic in the sense they have positive attitude, they are able to do well, both socially and economically, as well as psychologically. And therefore, they said that the solution to all these problems would be in making the children aware of the life skills. Now, these life skills also include psychosocial competences and interpersonal skills, in the sense that people should make informed decisions. You can't, what we call, believe in other person's beliefs or values, and one should be able to solve one's problems by oneself and think creatively and critically, which is the fundamental basis of a democracy, and also communicate effectively so our ideas are able to reach others, and build healthy relationships among the communities or with other persons, and empathize with others, and cope with managing their lives, whatever situation they are placed in, so that they'll have a better, healthy, and productive behavior, and the society benefits by such attitudes. Essentially, we can say that there are two types of skills. One is thinking skills, which an individual has to develop, and the other is the relationship skills or the interpersonal skills. Now, these social skills would mean trying to relate with others, whereas the thinking skills would mean actually trying to think or do things at a personal level. Now, when we know that we develop individual skills, but also when we interact with society, we have to make not only rational decisions, but also be able to deal effectively with others. This would mean managing with our own emotions, our emotions of other people's too. So here, besides the psychosocial skills and dealing with oneself, we also should know how to deal with others' emotions, and also be able to see that they come to a proper understanding with our own views. We should be able to convince them, and this would mean that the life skills also involve certain emotional skills. Now, why should we have these life skills? What is their importance? As I said earlier, we are facing today many challenges and also demands in life, and we are having certain issues which are also bringing stress, and our whole lifestyle has been undergoing various changes due to modern day pressures. And we are undergoing now stress because of all these factors. And this is leading to depression and anxiety in society, also leading to certain abnormal behaviors. Also, when we need to protect ourselves, and that is, an individual has to protect himself from exploitation or manipulation, or when he has to take correct decisions based on his own internal reasoning, and when he tries to make himself a central point or a locus point for evaluating things, we should also see that he develops the confidence to deal with certain situations. And this would mean that he has to develop critical thinking and also creative thinking to overcome the problems. Only when he is able to take certain decisions, he is able to take the initiative, and therefore come to what we call control the situation, and also able to come out of it successfully. This would also help him to maintain his mental health and also self-esteem. Now, when one interacts with other persons, it is not because they are trying to actually gain something at an individual level or a issue level, but also because it benefits the society as such. So sometimes the proper interactions also lead to proper solutions for society. Sometimes we have high risk behaviors from certain individuals or antisocial behaviors, and to curtail these and to develop healthy behaviors, so that they'll be able to lead healthy lives. We should help individuals develop the life skills. Now, life skills also promote healthy interactions, healthy lifestyles, healthy communication skills, healthy negotiation skills, and also help one to come out of the emotional impasses. What are the emotional impasses? Sometimes due to daily conflicts or relationships in which we are able to do not so well, or entangled relationships, or due to peer pressure, we may take certain decisions which may be harmful and which we may not feel safe enough and which may be unhealthy or which may have negative consequences on us. So to overcome all these, we should also have problem solving skills, and we should know how to overcome our anger, anxiety, depression, sadness, and also we should be able to take proper decisions so that our self does not perish, but we come out of it successfully, are able to contribute to society, and are generally able to have a good personality and also be at the high of things. Now, actually, life skills and personality are related. If a person has good life skills and has a good positive behavior, is able to make informed decisions and has enough control over his emotions and actions, that would also mean that a person is building his life positively, consciously, and he has a certain framework where he plans or strategizes on things, and therefore, whatever lifespan he has, he's able to deal with the time given to him in a proper manner and can have a very satisfying life. So for this too, he has to be in communication with others. So communication, feedback from others, and also understanding what one should do and what one should not do also gives him certain control on his life. At the same time, enables the individuals to redefine his goals and understand things in a proper perspective. All these sort of acts actually give the individual a sense of satisfaction, and this sense of satisfaction generally leads to satisfaction in personal life and at social life, and also helps him to be very healthy individual and have healthy life. Now, the life skills which have been told by WHO are dealing with all of these, that is the emotional, the psychosocial, as well as cognitive level. Let us understand what are the 10 skills given by World Health Organization. The first skill taught about the life skills given by the WHO is self-awareness. One should be aware of one's own self. He should be conscious of his motivation levels, his drives, his motivation, as well as his cognitive abilities, his concerns, and also his strengths, weaknesses, his desires, and also his dislikes, what he likes, what he doesn't like. If a person is not able to understand himself well, he will not also understand what he has to achieve in life. So this is very prerequisite in the sense, for understanding others, one should also be able to understand one's own self. And for developing empathy for others, one should understand himself first. The second would be empathy, because although you may be self-aware, it also the self-conscious, sometimes it may be only leading to self-interest. So to deal with others, you should have empathy with others, because man or woman do not live in isolation. They live with others. Therefore, when we communicate, when we want it not to be a one-way traffic, but we want it to be a two-way traffic where others also give us inputs, it would mean that we should have empathy and try to understand others people's needs, desires, and also what they're feeling. And if we are not having no sense of feeling towards what the others are thinking, we are lost actually, because it would be a one-way communication. Now, the other life skill pointed out by WHO, which needs to be developed, is critical thinking. Critical thinking is understanding whatever is available, all the information in the situation, and try to analyze it in a proper manner and also in a rational manner so that we can arrive at certain solutions. Now, critical thinking is influenced by our attitudes, knowledge, values, and also what sort of peer pressure we are undergoing through, or what are the societal pressures that we undergo, and whatever the media nowadays, especially media, is also influencing our way of thinking. Sometimes it is said that the critical thinking is affected by social media in the sense that we are not able to take decisions rationally because we are being influenced perpetually by the media. So we should be conscious of the fact and try to analyze our thinking logically as per our knowledge, and also the attitudes and skills, and also the knowledge of others, and also actually try to weigh our options and come to a correct idea, or what actually leads to a solution to your problem. This is known as a critical thinking. Now, creative thinking is another aspect. Sometimes the original problem may not give rise to, they may not have solutions, and therefore the problems require original ideas in solving them. And this would mean that one should be fluent enough in the subject. They should be flexible enough to change their ideas and also arrive at solutions. And they should also be original in the sense that all solutions may not be in the past. Sometimes we may require somewhat original solutions to new problems. And also, we should also try to build on others' ideas. We should try to elaborate any other ideas and try to see if that actually serves the issue or solves the problem. This would mean creative thinking would mean trying to understand the past as well as trying to understand the future and trying to relate or come to a solution. And this would mean weighing all options and being flexible and open in our approach and trying to arrive at solutions. Now, another skill that is important is decision-making skills. What is decision making? When we have come to certain decisions, we weigh all our options and we come to an assessment of what effects our decision can have on a situation. We try to understand the consequences and we take such a decision which is most helpful or does not damage the situation or maintain status quo. That is, we take decisions based on the problems as well as likely solutions, analyze them, assess them, and come to a rational idea of what actually solves the problem. And we take that particular step. That is, we actually implement that decision and understanding all the consequences. And this means it has been belied by all the thoughts that have undergone the process. And finally, we are at a decision. And decision making itself is also skill. Because although people may try to have creatively and critically analyze things, they may not take the decisions because they may think it may upset the whole situation, or it may negate the situation, or it may somewhat spoil the situation, or they may face social criticism. In such conditions, it is the ability to take decisions and to actually validate your decisions, which are based on rational, sound, foolproof arguments, that is also very important. Another skill that is required, life skill, is problem solving. What is problem solving? Problem solving is required in life because if we leave problems as such, it would lead to stress. And when stress is there, it also happens that the stress may cause the physical problems. That is, there are also the physical problems caused by stress. And again, the physical problems may again lead to stress. So all these problems, this is a whole cycle. So we should develop in the youngsters the ability to solve the problems. Also, interpersonal relationships. Some people are not sociable, but the ability to develop the mental and social well-being, the individual should be able to interact with others, gain social support for their activities. And of course, it starts from home and peers. And also, if social relationships are not constructive enough, if they're not good enough, we should be able to tell our youngsters to end such social relationships constructively. So to be in a relationship, to end relationships and to understand what relations actually help to grow you individually and also which contribute to your development, as well as to understand what relationships do not contribute and how to effectively what you call negate them or try to end them. That is also one of the person's abilities, because destructive relationships can tend to harm your psychological well-being. Also, the effective communication is one way of dealing with others. We have the verbal and non-verbal ways of dealing with people. That is, we can by our gestures or by our talk, try to relate with other persons. And we should be able to actually express our opinions freely, volubly. We should be able to express our desires, our intentions, and our needs and fears. That means sometimes we should be open in our ideas. We should be able to take in ideas as well as exchange ideas. We should be able to vocalize our ideas. And this would mean that because based on your speaking as well as your listening abilities, you are able to develop interpersonal relationships. Now, this would vary in different cultures and situations. Certain cultures are more open, while certain cultures are more closed. Some people think that being not able to express an opinion by itself will result in giving respect to other person, but it is not, in the sense when you do not express yourself or contradict others, it so happens that you are trying to bottle up your emotions or feelings or words, and this would have a negative effect and may not contribute to the situation, and the problems may also not be identified, proper solutions may not be found. In such sense, effective communication is important, and this helps actually to gain over a situation. Sometimes communication also gets you good advice, and also this helps you how to relax. The other skill which is important is known as coping with. We should be able to know how to cope up with situations. Not all situations are congenial to us. Not all solutions are congenial to us. And sometimes whatever results we face in a situation or whatever consequences we face because of our action, this may result in distress to us. Sometimes we may be angry because the world does not run according to our ideas. Or sometimes you are sad because you are filled with grief because there is loss of something in your life. That is, you may lose someone who is close to you, because life is very transient. There may be death or somewhat loss of things or material possessions, which may result in grief. So dealing with anger, sadness, grief, all this would mean we should know how to tackle these things, and we should see that these do not have a negative effect on us. We should be able to cope with this stress, and because many people do not understand the mechanisms of dealing with the stress, they succumb to stress, and we find they either go for suicidal or self-debilitating habits like drinking, etc. And this would have a negative influence on the earth, on the human beings. And we know that such sort of negative effects can also have a negative bearing on societal well-functioning. Now, when we try to cope with emotion, this means we know that our emotions influence our behavior, and ultimately it is the emotions which others think are our personality, and therefore we should be able to deal with our emotions. Sometimes we get anger or sadness, and sometimes we are under stress, but we should know how to relax and how to have a healthy environment or lifestyle. Now, all these skills are interrelated and interspersed with each other, and they reinforce with each other. And when we come out of such situations, it helps to build our self-esteem and self-efficacy. And sometimes if we do not come out of this, it would lead to a negative outlook as well as harm to the individual. Therefore, we should know that all these skills help us to effectively overcome our challenges, overcome our psychological distresses, overcome manipulation by others, and also help to take control of our lives and live such lives which are full of self-esteem and health, and also help us to have proper interactions and have good relations with others, and also rise above the impasse in general life where we are faced with difficulties, stresses, daily conflicts, entangled relationships, peer pressures, we should be able to overcome them, and we can resort to healthy behaviors instead of antisocial or high-risk behaviors and have a healthy lifestyle. Now, when we consider to relationships, I would say that the relationships are our interactions with other people. Now we know that all our relationships. So this is a completely different aspect from the life skills I'm saying. This is an aspect of life we are leading. So whenever we talk, we live in society, we are actually having relationships with other people. And we know that as parents, how the parents interact with children, that would have a bearing on how the child would act as an adult and what sort of healthy relationships he would have. Because it is the relationships which form the basis of any human being, and good relationships actually help the persons to be happy and develop better life skills. We say that the parents are the first persons to have good interpersonal relationship with children, and the children learn all the life skills or other skills from their parents, and all the relationships subsequently are based on what sort of interaction the child has with his parents. For example, you have got several types of parents and child relationships. And although a parent may say, I'm contributing to my child much and I'm spending quality time, it so happens that the parent may only spend about 30% of the time even in a very good secure relationship. That would mean that enough time is not spent on the children, and they are not they are not conversant with the parents' ideas of how they have lived or what roles they play in life and what sort of lives they are leading. So such sort of interaction between the parent and child may lead to actually healthy lifestyles or learning good life skills from the parent. But this does not usually happen. For example, how our early relationships actually tend to develop future relationships is very interesting. For example, when we actually have good relationships with our children, the relationship between the parent and child may also determine the future, what we call relationships with others when we grow up as adults. Electronics says that the quality of the parent-child relationship is very important, and it actually guarantees how individuals face their future relationships with other individuals. Because he says that there are relationship patterns in individuals. Our early relationships provide a template based on which other relationships develop later in life. If we tend to repeat the same behaviors and same patterns in life with other persons. So it is very important how the parent-child relationships develop early in life. For example, later in our life, we meet our partners, we tend to connect with them. Sometimes if the relationship is not good enough, we try to break with them. So each relationship is important. We try to develop relationships with our peers, with our friends, and also with family members, with children, with our wives, with our partners, husbands. And so all these relationships, how they progress and develop, there is a particular thing, that is how we pick, how we interact, how we come to stable relationship with them, or how we tend to break up with them. Generally, when we try to understand the different types of persons in life and how our relationships are, generally there are 4 types of archetypes. Archetypes in the sense, what sort of persons we tend to be, or how we can categorize the person's characteristics based on how they are being in a relationship. First, if you were to consider, one would be the caregiver. Who is a caregiver? The caregiver tries to take the whole situation in his control or her control and tries to solve the problems of the persons in their immediate visible or in whom their relationship. And also sometimes they help them, they take care of completely, they improve the person, they try to understand, they try to monitor them. And this would mean complete exhaustion on the person, other person, or the person who is taking care. So this caretaker is an archetype where the person is spending all the time on other person, which is leading to frustration either to the caregiver or caretaker. This is one type of an archetype. The other is known as the alpha type of archetype. Here, the alpha type of person actually tries to control the situation. He's like a dictator. He's a chief decision maker. He does not need to understand other person's needs, and therefore he tries to dominate and control, and he tells actually with whom to live, with whom to hang out, with what to eat, what to do, and how to spend time. And this would become unbearable to the other person. But these are the dominant persons. Also, we have what the parent type. Parent type is trying to be either a maternal or paternal instinct. You try to coordinate and you see everybody is taken care of. This looks something like a caregiving, but here you are also punishing others if they are not being good enough. So here, the parent type, you're trying to get into a parent-child relationship, and you try to take a bigger role than the other, trying to see that everything goes well. So this sort of archetype also is not very comfortable. Then we have got the codependent relationship, where both the persons are equally dependent. You are actually contributing in life, contributing in cooking, doing things, shopping and stores, doing everything together. But then the problem is sometimes you're completely reliant on other persons. And if you're left by yourself, sometimes you're not able to get along in life. So codependency, that is too much dependency on others, also is also another archetype. Then there is a push-pull archetype. This is another type of personality we can see around us in the human beings with whom we come in touch. One tries to, in a relationship, one tries to give more push and the other tries to pull away. For example, if one tries to push on saying, we would like to have more time, more intimacy, more connection, faster connection, the other person may actually run away from this pusher. Sometimes we may be the pullers, in the sense we are not able to take the other person's pushes. So generally the archetypes in relationships basically belong to these types. The caregiver, where the person takes complete care of others, and also he is being exhausted. He does not let know the other person that he is suffering, and he goes on becoming somewhat self-sacrificing. The other is the alpha, who is a dominant type, and he tries to control. The third is the parent, where he tries to actually take the control as well as chastise or punish if something goes wrong, which may also have negative consequences. And then the codependency, which actually is good enough, but here the dependency may actually be a negative thing if we become too dependent on each other. And then the push-pull sort of relationships, where one person pushes more and the other person pulls more. So we are actually sometimes we tend to play all these roles, or we may not play, but the healthy type would be to understand the other person's feelings or interactions and try to actually adjust, so that we are able to see that we emerge from such a relationship healthily, and the other person also does not suffer because of our attitude. Also, there is John Bowlby's attachment theory. He says the relationships are formed because of the attachment. He has done such an experiment where a caregiver leaves a child with a stranger for a few minutes and goes away. When the caregiver comes back, how he finds the child interacting with him. This is the basis of Bowlby's theories. He says, we form attachments as children, we form attachments with elders, and such sort of attachments have a bearing when we grow up. According to this experiment, where the Bowlby has tried to see how secure the child feels when the caretaker comes back, he says the relationship can be secure. That is, the attachment can be secure in the sense the child welcomes back the caregiver, is flexible in understanding. Sometimes the child is insecure in the sense the child is not happy. It sometimes tries to avoid the caregiver. And then we have got the ambivalent attachment, where the child tries to initially reach out, but it may also not rely on the caregiver and step back and also refuse or reject the offer of the caregiver. And then we also have disorganized or disoriented behavior where the child is confused, he does not know how to deal, and it shows contradictory reactions to the caregiver. Similarly, based on this sort of attachment, how a person becomes close to other, how flexible, how he tries to relate to other, and how dependent he is other, and how comfortable he is in relationship to other, all these factors come into consideration. Now, suppose the child is more secure in the attachment, he's more tolerable later in life, more flexible, and also more close to others, more comfortable and more dependent on other partners and relies on them. And people who are insecure, they're somewhat, they try to avoid their caregivers later. We find they try to somewhat, they worry constantly, they worry about losing their partners, they don't trust their partners, etc. And also persons who are having ambivalent attachment, that is, they do not care, they also find they actually want relationships, but they stay distant, are not involved because they fear they may lose them again. In such sort, the disorganized or disoriented behavior in such means here they are not at all involved, or they may show irrational sort of consideration for others, or they may not be involved in proper relationship with other persons in later lives. So we can understand that the pattern of relationships, that the how actually individuals deal with, as told by John Bowlby, he says it's all dependent on what sort of relationships a person has had in his childhood. So as we were saying, in the lifespan development and other courses, is very important that the childhood is an important phase of life, and it is a springboard from where all the relationships emerge later in life. Now I will be dealing for the next few minutes about the cognitive skills. As I was saying, in the life skills, we have basically three types of skills: psychosocial skills, and emotive skills, and cognitive skills. And here, all the core cognitive life skills are both what we call dealing with cognition or understanding, as well as understanding the necessity for communication and self-awareness. So I would say the cognitive functions or cognitive abilities means dealing or gaining with knowledge. To cognize means to understand. And here, whatever we understand or gain knowledge, it comes from the environment. So when we say we cognize things, we are able to make an understanding of things, of environment around us, and gain knowledge. But mere gaining of knowledge is not considered cognitions in the sense. For example, our memory, our understanding, our reasoning, our judgment, our intuition, our language are all dependent on, or they are the after effects of our cognition. And this means that how people learn, how people remember, how they solve problems, how they pay attention to things, they are also important rather than the pure knowledge as such. Pure knowledge remains in mind, but here we are also interacting with the nature based on the knowledge, and therefore this also comes under cognition. Now, when we consider the main cognitive skills are many, for example, memory long term. When we try to recall things from our past and try to address a certain issue, that would mean that it's an essentially a cognitive skill. Sometimes people may have long-term cognitive skills, but their working memory becomes very less. And what is working memory? For example, when we are dealing with a situation, we are told beforehand about all the steps involved in carrying out an activity, but midway we tend to forget. This is because the working memory, we have not taken into consideration all the steps, all the directions. Suppose one is given what multi-step sort of directions, the individual is able to forget or not able to understand how to go about these directions. This would mean that the working memory has become impaired. Similarly, something has been heard or said in a situation, a person immediately forgets it. And this would also mean the working memory gets impaired. The working memory actually gets impaired with age, and therefore this is also a cognitive ability. Now, coming for other cognitive skills, what one sees, we talk about the logic and reasoning, and this means a systematic, a step-by-step understanding, a rational series of steps. We are able to understand the knowledge and come to a concept that is also very logical. So here, sound mathematical procedures or statements that are given as conclusions that would be based on logical reasoning. And here we have two types of reasoning, and we got the inductive and deductive reasoning. The inductive reasoning actually means that we come to a conclusion. For example, we have seen 10 swans, all white. I would say that all swans are white. So we are coming to, from specific observations, that when we have seen 10 swans, I say that all swans are white. We are coming to a general conclusion that is coming from specific observations to a conclusion is known as inductive reasoning. The deductive reasoning is something where we come from a broad statement. That is, we come with a broad premise or statement saying all men are mortal. Ramu is a man, therefore he is mortal. All human beings are mortal. Ramu is a human being, so he is immortal. We are coming to a particular deduction. So the reasoning consists of both deduction as well as induction. So all this reasoning or logic also comprise cognitive skills. Sometimes processing of what others are saying, understanding what they say comes under a cognitive skills. This is known as auditory processing. Sometimes we have visual processing. When we see things, we are able to understand and relate with them. And this helps us to know how the situation lies. Generally, it so happens that when the skill is weak, we are not able to look around, we are not able to observe things. They say observation is a good skill. Lack of observation would also mean we are not able to tackle the thing. So when we are asked to complete a job, it would mean that we should be able to listen as well as also see, observe. And next comes the processing speed, processing information, or processing the information which is told by others, or processing what we read. And all this would actually, by continuous basis, we can develop them, and this would become a particular way in which we are able to understand. And this would also mean that the speed would gradually increase. This would take time and effort, but processing speed is also important. So when people do not take enough time for either observation or for learning a particular skill, or when they do not listen properly, this would mean that their processing speed, or in the speed with which they try to solve a problem, also gets affected. The next is attention. We know we have to have attention span much. We should need to be focused on the thing we are doing. If we are not having enough attention on a particular activity, it would mean that the activity one involves in at a later stage may also get affected. So I would say all these are important cognitive skills. We would start with long-term memory, which actually helps us to deal with certain things. Working memory, which actually helps to solve the problem at hand. We also should have enough logic and reasoning skills. Reasoning, of course, which may be inductive or deductive. We should be able to listen to others, auditory processing, and also be able to see others, visual processing, and also have good processing speed, and also have proper attention. The importance of cognitive skills is you can be strong performers at work. And when we do a job, we are analyzed based on our cognitive skills. When you are day-to-day life, when we go to a teacher or a supervisor to see how our things are getting done, how we transact with life, they make judgment based on our cognitive skills. It is not true that, or it's not in real life, we do not find people with the same cognitive skills. But when cognitive skills are weak, learning is a bit of a challenge. When cognitive skills are high, learning becomes easier, and we are all not equipped equipped with very same cognitive skills, it is the teachers and the parents that they should assess, help the child or the person have enough cognitive skills. And when people become, when the children become adults, they should also understand that these cognitive skills are important and that abilities should be aligned with our strengths in our professional career. Also, when adults, when they are looking for growth, they should also try to seek the areas in which they lack and try for improvement. So many studies shows that the cognitive skills, the person's learning skills actually help him to grow later in life. So with this, I come to an end with regard to the cognitive skills. We'll be dealing with cognitive skills listed by WHO, which are essential or core skills in detail to a certain extent before we proceed with the psychosocial skills and emotional skills. Thank you.